What is up, guys? Tristan Turns here, back after several months hiatus. Honestly, have not been reading at such a fantastic clip this year as I did last year, and more recently have taken a couple months off altogether to focus on studying. I was doing a certification program for work, and so most of my free time was going to that. However, we now find ourselves in the dog days of summer. Most of the sports that I and everyone else cares about are over. For about a month, we are done with vacations. Kids are asleep this morning, so I thought I would hop on and try to entertain you all and give my thoughts on really one of the only significant reads I've had over the past few months, and I'm not even done with it. Moby Dick, yes, the dreaded American classic, and I say dreaded because it is famous for people not finishing it. I was not so foolish to set out on this quest alone. Two of my other good reading buddies are joining me. I personally am about halfway. One of the guys is close to the end, and one is still plodding along just like me. So, yeah, I think that it's been a good read. Just wanted to give some thoughts here. And we'll see if I finish. I'll post another update when and if that happens. What makes it so challenging, well known, is that it has a lot of different genres, I guess you would say, attached to it. That's been one thing we've been noticing, is that a lot of the different writing styles are meshed together in this work. Was not something we knew about or were expecting going in, but there is a decent amount of the book that's dedicated to these essays about different whale parts. Herman Melville, the author, is really into whales. He calls them fishes. And so he just does a deep dive, from time to time, breaking up the narrative. I think the narrative we might estimate to be like somewhere 30-40% of the book, which I think is really, really good. I've actually loved the adventure aspects of the read. It's had a really good pace to it. The main character, Ishmael, is, we were remarking in our last book talk get together, that me and the other guys, that it is interesting. It seems like the book has a lot of commentary, not just on whales, but on the overall just landscape of what's happening. Ishmael is a character that doesn't really participate a whole lot, but he is there. And so he gives a lot of, first-person accounts of what's going on the ship as they try to hunt this great white whale. And, of course, Captain Ahab and Starbuck and all these famous characters are present, and he kind of provides commentary. However, the point I was trying to get to is it's unclear sometimes if it's the author giving these commentaries or Ishmael, the main character. They seem to merge at points, and it's hard to tell who's talking. There's a lot of tangents on just like the philosophy of life, which all of them sound very pretty and good. Some of them can be hard to wrap your mind around, or you might flat out disagree with. Regardless, I found them to be kind of charming. These tangents that he includes about just the way of life and, what a sailor's life is like, etc. So there's that. There's a significant amount of action, however, not as much maybe as you would expect in such a thick volume. And then there's the essays about whales, and then also, kind of throughout, there's different scenes where, these mini scenes of the sailors kind of being joyful together. There's a famous sermon towards the beginning of the book. So there's different genres, I guess is what we've been calling them, of, You have some significant nonfiction, you have some significant action, you have some significant philosophy ponderings, and then you also have just a whole bunch of other random stuff thrown together, all on the topic of whales, all somewhat propelling the story, but certainly not all related in terms of the writing style. So, yeah, for the most famous work from this author, the Life Project, it does seem to be just that, really a topic beat to death. And you got to admire someone for that. I know it can be hard to get through for that reason. However, I've been really enjoying it. I think I would probably enjoy, and I know they're out there, the abridged versions much more, because I tend to gravitate towards the action, which I think is really good. The descriptions, I don't mean to underplay the alliteration, the illustration of what's going on the water is first class from Mr. Melville. So really enjoy that. I will let you guys know what I think when I finish, but I will stop rambling for now. And if I were to give it a recommendation, I would say at least try it. Give the grace to skip over some of the boring whale essay commentaries, because I think the actual book is really good, really well written. And that is all I have to say for now. Catch you guys soon.